Hey folks, and now this is the vocabulary lesson 136. And so this is the second part of the 136. And now we're going to be talking about prohibit right here, okay? So prohibit is that okay, prohibited means that has been forbidden or forbidden, banned. They had deliberately fed prohibited material to their herd, not permitted, forbidden by authority. The police can arrest anybody found in the vicinity of prohibited drugs, whether he's an innocent visitor or the real culprit. 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 It did not now provide an objective standard for differentiating between permitted and prohibited conduct. Prohibited degree. To prevent something from happening or being done. The cost of safety glass often prohibits its use in private buildings. That's what it is, folks. So, all right, here it is. Here it is, right here. When something is prohibited, it's not allowed. If you see the sign, swimming is prohibited. Stay out of the water, whether used as a verb. You prohibited your friend from entering, or an adjective. The prohibited word escaped your lips. Prohibited means something was forbidden, a no-no. You often see it in signs like smoking prohibited. It's a strong word indicating that something is banned and suggesting dire consequences if the ban is not obeyed. On the other hand, when something is prohibited, it might seem more appealing. And the next one says definitions of prohibited. Number one, adjective, forbidden by law. Synonyms: banned, illegal, prohibited by law or by official or accepted rules. Number two, adjective, excluded from use or mention. Synonyms: for forbidden, out, proscribed, taboo, verboten, verboten, and impermissible, not permitted. Prohibited means number one, illegal, number two, theoretical, number three, invisible, and number four, coupled. No smoking is holding a lighted or smoke emitting cigarette or tobacco product is prohibited. Notice, food and drink prohibited in this area. Shop, no phones prohibited. Cell phone use prohibited. Notice, cell phones are prohibited except in the lunch area while on break. Leave cell phones in your car or in a locker. Notice, cellular phones prohibited. Security notice, use of cellular phone is prohibited in this facility. No cell phone sign. Notice, personal cell phone use is prohibited unless you are calling emergency services. With no cell phone graphic, prohibit means it's not allowed. Brandon was prohibited to come to the festival, which is me. I went to the park and the sign says no alcohol, prohibit. Prohibit means something forbidden and restricted. It's prohibited to enter this park after 5 p.m. Transitive verb. If a law or someone in authority prohibits something, they forbid it or make it illegal. Formal. A law that prohibits tobacco advertising in newspapers and magazines. Fishing is prohibited. Verb transitive. Number 1, to refuse to permit, forbid by law or by an order. Number 2, to prevent, hinder. Transitive verb. Number 1, to forbid an action, activity, etc. by authority or law. Smoking is prohibited here. Number 2, to forbid the action of a person. Number 3, to prevent, hinder. To officially stop something from being done, especially by making it illegal. Smoking is prohibited in all areas of the building. The sale of alcohol to young people is prohibited by law. Prohibited drugs, weapons, prohibit someone from doing something. A rule prohibiting doctors from advertising their services. Adverbs frequently used with prohibit: absolutely, completely, effectively, explicitly, expressly, generally, legally, specifically, strictly, totally. And here's a word here. It says cheating is strictly prohibited. Okay? That's what it says. And then the next one, go right here. Prohibit is a prohibition is a law or rule forbidding something, a prohibition on discrimination. Prohibition was the law that prevented the manufacture, sale, and transporting of alcoholic drinks in the United States between 1919 and 1933. Prohibition also refers to the period when this law existed. Number 1, a prohibiting or being prohibited. Number 2, an order or law that forbids. Number 3, U.S., the forbidding by law of the manufacture, transportation, and sale of alcoholic beverages. Formally forbids something by law, rule, or other authority. Laws prohibiting cruelty to animals. Similar: forbid, ban, bar, interdict, veto, prescribe, make illegal, place an embargo on. Embargo, disallow, outlaw, taboo, enjoin, restrain, forbidden, ban, not allowed, not permitted, illegal, illicit, against the law, barred, barred, vetoed, vetoed, prescribed, embargoed, disallowed, outlawed, contraband, non-licit, verboten, haram, haram, tapu, tapu, no go. Opposite: permit, authorize, formally forbid a person or group from doing something. He is prohibited from being a director of a fact or situation. Prevent something, make impossible. The budget agreement had prohibited any tax cuts. Similar: prevent, stop, rule, rule out, preclude, make impossible, hinder, impede, impede, hamper, obstruct, restrict, constrains, opposite, allow, facilitate. To officially refuse to allow something. Motor vehicles are prohibited from driving on the ice. The government introduced a law prohibiting tobacco advertisements on TV. Parking is strictly prohibited in the fire lanes. Thesaurus: synonyms, antonyms, and examples. To forbid someone or something. Forbid: he grew up in a strict household where dating was forbidden. Disallow: upon review, the goal was disallowed. The government has banned the sale of lead-based paint. Prohibit vehicles are prohibited from parking on the grass to prevent a particular activity by making it impossible. The loudness of the music prohibits serious conversation in most nightclubs. To officially forbid something, the law prohibits smoking in restaurants. To prohibit is also to prevent something by making it impossible. Loud music prohibited serious conversation. To officially stop something from being done by making rules or laws that do not allow it. The government introduced a law prohibiting tobacco advertisement on TV. Prohibit SB from doing Fifth Committee Committee rules prohibit members from buying shares. Smoking in restaurants is now prohibited by law. The teams also prohibit tailgating in the parking lots. In addition, the plans were saddled with rules that prohibited them from using federal funds for marketing and restricted which customers they could go after. Children under 16 are prohibited from attending any public gathering, including church. Now, the word, which is prohibition, which means the action of forbidding something, especially by law. They argue that prohibition of drugs will always fail. Similar: ban, forbidding, prohibit, bearing, debarm, veto, prescription, disallow, disallower, interdict, outlaw, making ill, be, interred, whatever it is, VE, embar, injunct, boycott, moratorium. The prevention by law of the manufacture and sale of alcohol, especially in the U.S. between 1920 and 1933. Prohibiting, the act of prohibiting by authority in order to restrain or stop, often capitalize the forbidding by law of the manufacture, transportation, and sale of alcoholic liquors, except for medicinal and sacramental purposes. The city's prohibition of smoking in restaurants, a prohibition against parking on the street. Prohibition is a noun. Number 1, the act of prohibiting. Number 2, an order forbidding something. Number 3, often capitalize the forbidding by law of the sale and manufacture of alcoholic beverages. Prohibition, the act of officially not allowing something or an order that does this. New York City has announced a prohibition on smoking on buses. The environmental group is demanding a complete prohibition against the hunting of whales. It's my feeling that the money spent on drug prohibition would be better spent on information and education prohibition. The period from 1920 to 1933, when the production and sale of alcohol was not allowed in the U.S. Prohibition. In the U.S., prohibition was the period from 1920 to 1933, when the production and sale of alcohol was illegal. Prohibition, the period from 1920 to 1933, when the production and sale of alcohol was forbidden in the U.S. There was a thriving black market during Prohibition. Prohibition, a law or rule that officially stops something from being done, or the fact of not being allowed by official rules or laws. The regulations spell out the prohibition of age discrimination in the workplace. A prohibition against on there is a prohibition on disclosing information. One such step is to reinstate the prohibition on high-capacity magazines, but that prohibition did not extend to relatives of her employees. The reasons go back to the federal prohibition of pot. Prohibition didn't work because we didn't accept it. All right, folks, that's it. The lesson is over. Hope you guys enjoy the lesson. So prohibit means it's not allowed, okay? Prohibit means it's not allowed. Prohibit means it's not allowed. So remember that. So see ya.